Assalamu alaikum. Myself Ishtiaq Ahmed, ID 11908031. My presentation topic is support vector machine. Now I will present my topics in details. So what is support vector machine? It is a supervised learning algorithm which is used for classification and regression tasks. It works by finding the optimal hyperplane. The base separates the data into two different classes or many different classes. The support vectors The support vectors are the critical data points closest to the hyperplane, which help define the boundary. And the margin maximize is the key idea of SVM. If data is not linearly separable, SVM uses a kernel trick to map data into higher dimension. SVM classifiers. There are two types of SVM classifiers. One is linear SVM and the other one is non-linear SVM. The left graph shows that linear SVM, where data is separated by a straight line, and the right graph showed a nonlinear SVM, where a curved line separated data. Hyperplane, which is most important part of SVM. In the middle black line, we show that the optimal hyperplane. The hyperplane which is used for decision boundary that separates different classes. SVM finds the optimal hyperplane that maximizes the margin between classes. And the support vectors are the critical points closest to the hyperplane. The next topic is tuning parameters. How do we tune parameters in SVM? Here are some topics such as kernel, regularization, gamma, margin. So what is kernel? Kernel function transform input data into higher dimensions to make the data separate. Here is the input data which is transformed a higher dimensions which is used for separable the data. Here are some kinds of kernel which is linear kernel, RBF kernel, polynomial kernel, sigmoid kernel. Linear kernel is for simple straight line. The polynomial kernel which is used curved line to separation, and the RBF kernel used for complex boundaries, and the sigmoid kernel which is similar to the neural networks. The next topic is regularization, which controls the overfitting. If the data too strict, it's called underfitting, where model to simple. If too loose, it's called overfitting. The model memorizes the noise. The right regularization achieves an optimized fit. Gamma. It is the one of the most common topic is SVM. Here it defines how far the influences of a single training example reaches. Here it's the high gamma, and this graph is called the low gamma. The high gamma defines the only nearby points matter and the low gamma considered all only further points, which is smooth the decision boundary. Margin. Margin in SVM is the gap between two classes. Margin is the gap between two classes around the hyperplane. The hard margin, strict separation. Here no errors allowed, good for clean data, and the soft margin allows some errors to handle noisy data. Advantages of SVM. Here are some advantages of SVM, such as high accuracy in predicted class, and it's effective with clean margin of separation, good memory efficient, and it uses versatile kernels which is used for separate the data, whether this is non-linear. Here are some disadvantages of SVM, such as it's not suitable for a large data set. And here, uh, one of the most disadvantage of SVM is the hard to choose the right kernel, whether it is RBF, linear polynomial, and it's less effective with noisy data and no probabilistic output. Thank you, everyone.